So, I've heard you want to get big and strong like your old man here, eh? Well, let me tell you something. So, I'd say there are about 10 exercises or 10 general movement patterns we should all be trying to base our program around now, right? So, now I'm not saying that there's only 10 exercises that you should be doing or you only need 10 exercises in your training program. But if you just wanted to do these 10 exercises and take a minimalist route, you definitely can. And you can definitely get a lot of gains, right? And you can keep doing these exercises and movement patterns as a beginner, intermediate, advanced lifter. You can be 90, still doing these general movement patterns and still get great gains and benefit from them, right? So they're definitely something to not abandon. And just starting off, the first exercise on my list, none of these are in any particular order, nor are they ranked, but the first exercise is going to be squats, right? Squats are a beautiful, great movement that's going to work a lot. That is the leg builder, right? When you think of lower body exercises, you think of squats. That's probably like the first thing that you might think of. And when you do squats, they're gonna build very powerful, strong, big legs, right? They're gonna work, your hips, the muscles within your hips, like your glutes, and they're gonna work mostly your quads, right? So that would be the front of your leg. So if you want to have nice, big quads, then you're gonna want to have to do squats, right? You can either just do them completely like just destroy your legs with just body weight, just a bunch of body weight reps. You can throw in a weighted vest, or you could use maybe something like a sandbag, do sandbag front squats, or you could try and do barbell back squats, right? Which is like the most standard, most familiar type of squat that, most anybody who's going to be lifting in the gym would do. Next exercise is RDLs, or Romanian deadlift. And this is a version of a deadlift where you are kind of like not putting a lot of bend on your legs, right? So when you do a standard deadlift, you kind of bend at the legs and then you push to the ground with your legs and lift with your back, blah, blah, blah. But this time you are kind of stiffening your legs, right? This would be similar to a stiff-legged deadlift. An RDL and stiff-legged deadlifts they're like, to be honest, like the same movement. I don't understand what the difference is between them. But you want like maybe no bend or a slight bend when you're doing RDL. So this way, this is going to get more of your hamstring, which is going to be the back of your leg, right? And when you work your hamstring, you also help with your knee, with your knee health. So you're going to get better at doing squats and other leg movements in general. And then of course, you're going to get a lot more glutes and a lot more of your posterior chain, which is definitely a neglected area by your standard gym bro. You can also, of course, do this movement with either a sandbag or just your standard barbell. I've been experimenting with sandbag lifts, especially for the lower body, a lot recently. So just try out whichever modalities you would like or whichever modalities just seem fun to you. Pull-ups being the third exercise on the list. And I believe that pull-ups are the king of back exercises, right? This is just a standard great exercise that I believe everybody should be trying to do, and everybody should be putting them in their program and doing them very often. Or you're not just working your lats, but you could be working other parts of your back. You're working your arms. You can use different hand positions, right? Like close grip, chin up, neutral grip, which is going to work your arms in different ways. And it might even stretch your lats differently. There's like L-sit pull-ups. And then, of course, if you're doing just their standard pull-up correctly, you might even be working your core. So they're just like an ultimate builder within, I guess, upper body exercises, right? Sure, you can do lat pull-downs and stuff like that and machine pull-downs, whatever. But I just feel like the pull-up is a lot more superior because of just you're hanging there, that pure hanging that is kind of natural to human movement. It's just like, I don't know, it's awesome to try and conquer your body weight, right? And then the better you are at pull-ups with your own body weight, let's say you get maybe to 10 to 12 reps, you can start adding weight and you can start getting stronger, with your body weight plus more weight. It's like, you're too much for your own body. Fourth exercise on the list is rows. Rows is another back exercise. It might not be as great as pull-ups, but they're definitely supplementary, and I think they're definitely necessary. As when we move our shoulders, do different ranges of motions, right? A pull-up is a vertical pull, and a row is a horizontal pull. So by moving our shoulders in different positions, that can help with shoulder health. But by doing rows, you're also hitting other muscles in the back that maybe the pull-up might not be able to I guess like handle, or the pull-up might not be able to grow in, I guess, the most efficient way, right? And these muscles would include like your rear delts and your traps. Your rear delts are very important for shoulder health. And then, include that with the traps. That's going to add to kind of like your back thickness, and it'll give you a much more denser, more like kind of like jacked, serious lifter appearance. Rows for the hose, as they say. Exercise number 5 is going to be a bit different from some of the conventional lifts, but it is a variation of a vertical pushing movement, and this would be the behind the neck press. And I prefer this movement over the standard overhead press because I believe the overhead press might be a bit redundant. Of course, you can, if you want, you can have an overhead press in your program. But when it comes to what the behind the neck press does for the shoulders, and not only gives you big jack shoulders, but is going to give you shoulders that are going to be a lot healthier since you're in a more, I guess, strenuous position for the shoulders, right? This is a more vertical, straight line movement pattern where with a standard overhead press, you're pushing off of your chest and over your head, where behind the neck press, you're kind of like staying in that same vertical line. And this will be more of a challenge on your shoulders. Again, like I said, it's going to strengthen your rotator cuff, right? As I've been doing behind the neck presses, I've like rarely received like any really bad shoulder pain and stuff like that. My shoulders feel amazing. On top of that, I've also been doing face pulls. But me introducing behind the neck presses and me having done them for a good couple months now has really led to the roundness, just my shoulders becoming bigger and my shoulders becoming healthier, right? And it can contribute to shoulder roundness a lot more than overhead press because you're getting your lateral delt, right? So this is your deltoid that's, farthest, right, from the center of your body. And that's going to contribute to the shoulder boulder look, right? The Death Star delt look. And you can't really get that, not fully, just by doing overhead press, right? You might have to try and do lateral raises, right? But I barely do lateral raises anymore, and I feel like my shoulders have gotten rounder and bigger just by me doing behind the neck presses. Push-ups. Push-ups is exercise number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've been doing push-ups basically since day one of me training. When you think of like, your default exercise with no equipment, you're going to be maybe thinking of like sit-ups, push-ups, squats, something like that. And, there's, of course, everybody knows what push-ups are. They're a simple, basic, time-tested movement that not only is beginner friendly, but can be taken all the way to the advanced stage, right? I'm not an advanced lifter. But again, there are advanced lifters who do this movement, faithfully. And I've been doing this movement faithfully for nearly like my entire time of training, right? And you can spice up this movement so it doesn't get stale by doing different variations of push-ups, like diamond push-ups, there's pike push-ups. But like, if we're gonna think more towards the chest, for me, I feel like doing deficit push-ups with parallels has definitely built my chest strength, and shoulders and triceps as well. Just through doing, just doing this movement in and out every single session, or every single upper body session, and it's helped me grow, right? Just in general, push-ups have been a strong staple. No, there's bench, but bench might not be the most super accessible movement because you might need barbell and weights. But then again, I'm not basing this list based on accessibility. I'm just basing it on good movement patterns. But again, still, it's a very accessible movement. It's very beginner friendly, and it can be varied up in ways to where it can be even more beginner friendly. And you can take this movement to the moon with you because it's just that reliable of an exercise in order to build good upper body strength. Exercise 7 is going to be leg raises. Now, I prefer hanging leg raises because, for one, you're working your grip by hanging on the bar, right? And you're also decompressing your spine, right? And I like to do leg raises after doing heavy movements or spine loading movements like squats and deadlifts. So if I have a session where I'm doing those movements, I always do leg raises afterwards. Towards the end of the session, it feels great on my back. Um, but of course, with leg raises, when you're doing hanging leg raises, that's the hardest variation of a leg raise. Of course, you can work your way up to hanging leg raises by doing like lying leg raises and stuff like that. And then, of course, extending your legs out, right? Knee raises first, and then doing leg raises on the ground, and then moving to hanging leg raises with your knees, and then hanging leg raises with your full leg, which is the hardest variation. Of course, you can go side to side, which is kind of like gonna be more of the obliques, right? But in general, I think it's a great core exercise, and it's another exercise I've been doing nearly since day one of me training, and I feel like they're responsible for me being able to keep my abs, even whilst bulked up, right? A lot of people have the issue of losing their core, losing their abs when they bulk up, and then they have ab anxiety, and then they don't want to bulk up and gain weight and progress further, so they try and stay lean all the time. Dude, it's just work your abs. Just do leg raises. Do an exercise like leg raises, and you should be fine. Exercise number 8. Calf raises. Now, this is a bit of a boring exercise. I barely even film myself doing them, but I do them. I do them, along with my leg raises. And yeah, I mean, you don't want to neglect your calves, right? There's very important joints and muscles related to the calves, that are attached to your ankles. And we want to take care of our ankle health. We might not be doing a lot of sports and stuff like that, right? If you're lifting just to build muscle and strength, you don't want to neglect something like calves. But you don't always have to just do calf raises. You can do jump roping, hiking, stuff like that. But again, if you don't have time to be doing some active outdoor stuff or sports, recreational sports, then of course, simply calf raises can do the job for you, and you can get pretty big calves in general. Now back to the fun stuff. Curls being exercise number 9 in this list of exercises. Like they say, curls for the girls, just, I'm just sitting here. I'm not doing anything, just. But yeah, curls. If you want to get big biceps, do curls. There's nothing wrong with doing isolation exercises to bias certain muscle groups that you feel like are lagging or that you might want to do emphasis on, right? Yeah, I'd say it's very important to do curls because, for one, I mean, I think if we're going to talk about functionality, functional strength, I think they're functional. When you're doing movements like this, it's like you're carrying something. Next time you have to carry a box, it should be a lot easier. Next time you have to carry something, your arms like this, it should be a lot easier because you have bigger and stronger biceps, right? So taking an isolation movement just to max intensity and doing it consistently over a long period of time, you're gonna have growing biceps, right? You're gonna see results, you're gonna see gains. And you should treat most of your isolation exercises like this. Matter of fact, the last exercise on this list, exercise 10, are tricep extensions, more specifically overhead tricep extensions. Now, I say overhead tricep extensions because by putting your shoulders overhead like this, your elbows overhead, you're getting a lot more stretch on the long head of your tricep, right? The long head of your tricep is the biggest head of the tricep. And when it's in this extension, it's a lot more stretch, right? It stretches the lat and it stretches the tricep a lot more. So when you're doing, let's say, cable overhead extensions or ring or overhead extensions, whatever the case may be, you're going to be working your triceps a lot more. They're going to get freaking stretched and lengthened and ripped to shreds. So then that way you'll have shredded triceps, right? One downfall of overhead tricep extensions is that it can really put some strain on the elbow. But a way to solve that simply is just by warming up, getting some blood flowing into the elbows, maybe getting some lighter dumbbells, doing some tricep kickbacks, or, let's say you're having a pushing session where you do pushing movements and then you do your tricep extension afterwards. Boom, your elbows should be warmed up enough, your triceps should be warmed up enough for you to not have any type of joint pain, right? So all you have to do is just be careful, or just simply warm up with some lighter weight with the overhead tricep extension. Again, getting blood flow to those elbows, making sure those elbows are nice and greased up before doing a super hard movement like a tricep extension. And again, like I said, with the curls, you're going to want to, of course, train this movement hard, right? It's an isolation movement. It's one muscle group that you're targeting. And, I have isolation movements like curls and calf raises and tricep extensions because to a lot of lifters who lift for a long time, they neglect these types of movements and they end up with physiques that, don't really show, I guess, that they've been working out for a while, right? So by doing these movements, by being consistent in them, you're gonna set your, I guess, your physique pretty far apart from your standard gym bro average lifter. One thing you might have noticed as I was making this list was that a lot of these exercises are fairly basic exercises you would have already heard of, and they are pretty accessible, which further drives the point home that the basics, just basic, tried and true, well-known exercises are going to be the ones that are going to get you jacked, right? Again, you also might have noticed that I didn't really mention anything like flies or cable exercises or a lot of other isolation exercises. In fact, most of these exercises that I mentioned are compound exercises, and I believe basing your training on a lot of these basic compound exercises is what's going to get you a lot of your strength and muscle as a beginner lifter. If you just want to build a great physique, great strength, these 10 basic exercises are going to get you just about probably 95% of the way without having to add in a lot of other types of exercises. Now, I don't only do these 10 exercises, I add a bunch of other exercises into my training regimen. But like I said before, I base these exercises around my training regimen, right? I do all 10 of these exercises very consistently on a weekly basis, twice weekly, to be honest. And I've been seeing growth and gains of strength and muscle within my physique over the past nearly 4 years. And machine like isolation exercises or cable exercises or flies, whatever. I'm not saying these exercises are useless. They can definitely get the job done with whatever specific area they're targeting. But in general, these basic movement patterns, these basic exercises that I mentioned, they've always gotten the job done, and they will get the job done for a long time, and they will get the job done in a much more broader spectrum because, again, most of these exercises are compound lifts. And when you're doing kind of like isolation, smaller movements, you're not really focusing too much on, I guess, the big picture, right? Stabilizing muscles, other muscle groups that you can't see, tiny little ligaments and stuff like that. But when you're doing a lot of compound exercises, you are working on a lot of that stuff as well as getting big and jacked, right? Some of the biggest, strongest muscular guys to ever exist have done a lot of these types of exercises. And they should be a part of your, not the big giant muscular guys, but these movements should be a part of your program. You should base your program around these movements, and it's just undeniable as to what it's going to do for your physique, for your strength, for your confidence, whatever. Maybe your wife is gonna come back. Maybe your kids won't hate you anymore. Maybe that bald spot might grow back. I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, do you. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see more videos, just check out my channel, subscribe, like, whatever. But yeah, hope you guys have a good one, and peace out.